Hey everybody, welcome to class. My name is Emily. Before we begin, let's go over the props that you'll want to use for today. If you do not have a yoga mat, you can always use a towel or a blanket. Grab yourself another blanket. It can be just a throw size, it doesn't have to be a large blanket by any means. And then grab yourself some blocks. If you do not have yoga blocks, you can use any prop that's similar to the shape and size, a stack of books, or you could even use the seat of a chair or the sofa next to you if you're in your living room. The other thing that you can grab if you like is your yoga bolster. If you don't have a bolster, you can always use a pillow or a cushion about the same size. We won't necessarily be using this a whole lot today, but like always, if you know you like to have it, then go ahead and grab it. So if you need to grab any other props, please pause the video and then meet me back here. Let's go ahead and get started. You can go ahead and take a comfortable seat, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sit cross-legged. However, if you have tight hips and you do want to sit cross-legged, sitting up on a prop like your block or your bolster or even a folded up blanket will help lift your hips up off of the ground, allowing you to maybe open up through your hips a little bit more. So go ahead and shift wherever you are, grounding down through your sit bones. Take your hands to your thighs or your knees. Roll your shoulders back and broad. And on your next exhale, allow your eyes to close. Start to tune into your natural rhythm of breath, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through your nose. And as you do that, use your breath to notice the energy level in your body. Notice how you're feeling today. Start to scan down from your head to your toes. And take note, without any judgment, what tension you might be holding on to. Perhaps you're feeling some intense sensations somewhere. So just notice what's going on for you today. And take some big breaths. Then let's bring our hands together at our hearts and repeat with me a mantra of, I do not fear change. I adapt gracefully. Once more, repeat with me. I do not fear change. I adapt gracefully. Take an inhale and lift tall through your chest, and on your exhale, bow your head towards your hands, sealing in this intention we've set for ourselves. Take a deep, heart-honoring breath. Then release your hands and open your eyes. Lift up tall through the top of your skull, and exhale, drop your right ear to right shoulder. Inhale, come back up to center, then exhale and drop your left ear to left shoulder. Continue inhaling up to center and exhaling to drop your head to the side. And we'll do one more on each side. Then meet me back up at center. Start to shake your head no. Nod your head yes. Then next time you tuck your chin towards your chest, keep it there, and start to roll your shoulders back on your back. Inhale, come back up to center. Release your arms at your sides. Inhale, up, overhead. Exhale your hands to your hearts. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, take your hands to your sides. Walk your right hand out to the floor at your side. Press down through your fingers and inhale, reach your left hand up overhead. On your next inhale, come back up to center. Start to walk your left fingertips out to your side and inhale, arms up overhead. And on your next inhale, come back up to center. Take your hands out in front of you and make fists with your hands. And then bring your elbows directly out from your shoulders. From there, you're going to start to rotate through your wrists, but keeping your elbows in place. Start to roll your hands. And then switch the direction of your circles. And then if you are sitting on a prop, go ahead and move your prop to the side. We are going to move to tabletop position. If you are on hardwood floor or tile, grab your blanket to provide a little bit of support for your knees here. And then start to set yourself up with your hands directly underneath your shoulders, your knees directly underneath your hips. On your inhale, at your pelvis, you're going to allow your pelvis to drop your belly towards the floor. Then allow your belly and chest to come down towards the floor. And then take your gaze slightly up. On your next exhale, starting again at your pelvis, you're going to start to tilt, tucking your tailbone down towards the floor. Allow your spine to press up towards the ceiling. Inhale, coming down into your cow-like pose. Exhale, back into your cat-like pose. And continue this movement with the rhythm of your own breath. As you do so, notice how you use your shoulders, your pelvis, to move your spine here. Meet me back at center, then take your knees wide, keep your hips close to one another, then start to push your hips back towards your heels. You can walk your hands out in front of you and bring your head down towards your mat into your child's pose. In your child's pose, maybe your knees or your hips are feeling a little tight today, and so maybe you're up a little bit higher, and that's totally fine. Just go to wherever you're most comfortable and take some big breaths. On your next inhale, start to walk your hands towards your knees and then come back up into hands and knees. Set yourself up with wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Then you're going to extend your right leg back behind you, toes to the floor. Start to pulse back and forth Working all the way through your ankle joint, your toe joints, stretching out your calf as you press back, rolling all the way to your pointed toes as you come forward. Then go ahead and release your right leg. Take your left foot back, toes to the floor, and then start to pulse through your toes, ankles, stretching out your calf here on the left side. Release your left knee back down to the ground. Then take your right toes back, or right foot back, toes to the floor. And then engage your low belly, puff up your back ribs, press your hands into the ground, and step back with your left foot toes to the floor. If this is too intense for you, you can always drop your knees here. Otherwise, you're going to exhale, release slowly down to the floor. Press the tops of your legs into the ground and roll your shoulders back and broad. Make sure that your hands are still right underneath your shoulders. On your inhale, you're going to use your back muscles to curl open into a baby cobra. Not bringing very much weight into your hands here. You're mostly using your back muscles. Take one more big breath. Then gently press back through hands and knees, coming into whichever version of child's pose you would like. Two more big breaths right here. Then inhale, curl open. Set yourself up in tabletop. Extend your right leg back behind you. Flex your foot and reach actively through your heel. Square off your hips. Then inhale and open them so that your toes are pointing to the right. Exhale, come back into center. Inhale, open. Exhale, back into center. Inhale, open. Start to work your foot forward in between your hands, and if you have blocks here, go ahead and grab your blocks. In your low lunge, set your front knee directly over your shin and your ankle. And then if you need to shift your back knee back so that you're getting the right amount of stretch through your quads and hamstrings, please do so. Wherever you're at, square off your hips with one another. Inhale and curl open. Bend deeper into your front knee. Exhale your hands down to your blocks and start to shift your hips back so that you're bringing your back hip directly over your back knee. Start to work your front leg towards straight. Flex your foot and reach your toes towards your knee. Then from there, wrap your right glute, which will pull your hips in alignment with one another, and maybe your knee and your toes turn out slightly to the right. From there, reach through your sit bones back behind you. Continue to press down through your heel. Bend back into your front leg. Put your blocks aside. Then work your back foot or your front foot back to hands and knees. Take your left leg back behind you, toes off the floor, and reach actively through your heel. Square off your hips, then inhale and open your hips so that your toes are pointing to the left. Exhale, come back into center. And inhale, open your hips. Exhale, back to level. Then inhale, open one more time. Reach, step your foot forward and work it forward between your hands. Grab your blocks and line up your front knee. Shift your back knee and square off your hips. Inhale, open. This time you can exhale your hands down to cactus if you'd like, or gratitude. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale your arms to your blocks. And then once more, start to bring your leg towards straight. Shift your back hip directly over that knee. And then flex your front foot so that you can press your heel down into the ground. Draw that left hip crease back in space, which will wrap your glute and possibly turn your toes and knee out to the left. From there, continue to press down with that heel and then reach back behind you through your sit bones. See if you can stick your booty out. Reach tall through a flat spine and take some big breaths. Start to bend into your front knee. Move your blocks aside. And if you have that blanket underneath your knees, still go ahead and put that to the side as well. In hands and knees, tuck your toes and reach your sit bones up and behind you to your downward facing dog pose. Start to pedal out your feet, bending one knee at a time. And as you do that, notice if you're locking your elbows, give yourself a little bit of a bend in your elbows. Start to walk yourself forward towards your hands. Inhale up to half forward fold. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, take your hands to your hips and curl open to mountain pose. Inhale your arms up overhead. Exhale, release them by your sides. I'm going to turn towards the front so you can see what we're doing here. In your mountain pose, your feet should be hip distance apart and parallel. Go ahead and inhale up overhead. Take your hand to your right wrist and then root down through this right hip all the way down through your heel. On your exhale, you're going to lean over to the left, but continue to press down through this right hip. Maybe pull a little on your wrist, and then see if you can reach your ribs out to the right. Take some big breaths. Then inhale back up to center. Switch the cross, taking your hand to your left wrist. Then root down through your left hip and heel. Start to reach over to the right. Take some big breaths, opening up this left side of your rib cage. Then inhale. Exhale, release your hands to your sides. I'm going to come back to the front of my mat. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, the heart center. Inhale, up. Exhale, with bent knees, start to fold over your legs. Bend your knees enough that you can rest your belly on the tops of your legs. Then you can either take your arms to hang by grasping your forearms, or you can keep your hands on the ground here or at blocks, but see if you can allow your head to rest. Shake your head, no. Nod your head, yes. Inhale up to half forward fold. Reach tall through the top of your skull and long out the back through your sit bones. Then go ahead and fold over your legs. Put your blocks to the side. Plant your hands and step back into your downward facing dog pose. Engage your shoulders onto your back. Then reach through your sit bones back behind you. Release your knees down to the floor and then set yourself up in hands and knees. Bring your right hand a little bit more into center. Take your left hand to the base of your neck, right where it connects at your thoracic spine. Right at the connection of your thoracic to your cervical spine. There's a little bit of a curve right there. So take your hand to clasp around that curve. On your inhale, you're going to open your elbow to the left. And then on your exhale, you're going to come back into center. Inhale and open. Exhale and release. This time you're going to inhale, open, let go of the back of your neck. Reach as far as you can through your hand, then start to thread the needle, bringing your shoulder as close to the floor as you can get it. From there, if you like, you can reach your right hand out, walking your fingertips towards the front of your mat, maybe pulling yourself a little bit more under your shoulder. Now, if this feels extra good to you, you could maybe sweep your arm up over and then bind your hand behind your hip. Wherever you're at, take a big breath. Then release your hand, bring it back to the mat, close to your head, and gently press back up into tabletop. Bring your left hand more into center. Take your right hand to that same curve in your spine. You're going to inhale your elbow to the right. Exhale back to center. Inhale and open. And exhale. This time, inhale and release your hands. Reach as far as you can. Then start to thread the needle between your knee and your supporting hand. Bring your shoulder down to the floor. You can walk your left fingertips out, pulling yourself under more, or even sweep that hand back behind your hip. Release your hand and gently press yourself back up. Take your feet to one side, your hips to the other. Coming down to the floor. Start to, if your hips are feeling tight, again, you can sit up on a folded blanket. And then take your feet to cobbler's pose. In cobbler's pose, you are pressing your footprints in towards one another. And then you get to decide how big your diamond shape is. So maybe you've got your feet a little bit farther out in front of you. Maybe you've got them pretty close to your hips. Wherever they are, see if you can allow your knees to open to the side. Take your hands down to the floor at your hips and press down into the ground so that you can lift tall through your chest. If this is intense enough for you to stay seated or stay sitting up tall, then you're going to stay right here. However, if you feel like you can keep your spine long, start to work your hands maybe to the ground in front of you or to your ankles or your shins, and start to fold, keeping your low back straight, or as straight as your low back is, flat. Start to fold over your legs. Inhale, come back up to center. Take your hands to your knees and help bring your knees back up into center. With your footprints on the ground, you're going to extend your right leg out and then your left. And you get to decide how wide your angle is. So maybe your angle looks more like this. That's totally fine. Wherever you're at, flex your feet and press down through your heels. And that's going to pop your knees up off of the ground, and that's what you want to keep your knees protected here. Take your hands once more to the floor at your hips and press down into the ground to lift tall through your spine. If this is enough sensation, just trying to stay up tall, you're going to stay right here. However, if you feel like you can keep that low back flat, start to work your hands out in front of your hips on the mat. Maybe start to work your hands forward, folding towards the floor. Continue to keep your feet flexed, those toes actively reaching towards your knees. Inhale, come back up. Take your hands to your knees once more and help work your footprints back to the floor. Take your feet into cobbler's pose once more. Press the bottoms of your feet into each other. Reach down into the ground, or with your hands at the floor by your hips, reach down into the ground. And once more, maybe fold over your legs. Maybe this time coming a little bit deeper. Then inhale, come back up to center. Take your hands to your knees, bring your knees towards one another. And I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see this. But what you're going to do is you're going to start to rock back so that you are balancing right between your sit bones and your tailbone. Come up onto your tippy toes, and what you're going to do is slowly work your way towards boat pose. So maybe you take one foot up to tabletop height, maybe you take 2 feet up to tabletop. Maybe you release your knees, take your hands to gratitude at your sides, and extend your feet long. Inhale, come back into center, release your toes to the floor, take your hands to your knees. And then move your blanket aside if you're still sitting on your blanket. Gently Walk yourself back to your backs. Bend your knees and bring them into your chest. Give them a good squeeze here and rock side to side. Release your footprints back down to the floor and allow your knees to drop in towards one another. Bring a hand to your belly and a hand to your chest. And start to tune back into your breath. Start to notice the qualities of your breath and compare if there are any differences now versus the beginning of class. Just notice without any judgment. Begin to take a deeper breath. Find some movement in your fingers and toes. Roll over to whichever side feels better today. And on your side, take a big breath. Extend your top leg long along the floor, then gently press your hands into the ground to slowly come up to a seated position using as little energy as possible. In your seated position, shift once more, grounding down through your sit bones. Then take your hands together at your hearts. And once more, I would like you to repeat an affirmation with me of, I do not fear change. I adapt gracefully. I'd like to thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you all next time. Namaste.